Hey there, and welcome to the 10th episode of the Xamarin Code Hour. This is getting bigger and better every time. This time I have removed the background out of the screen, and that allows us to focus more on the code better. I think hopefully it's going to make things a lot better. So in this special episode, I am wearing blue party shirt instead of the red or orange traditional. That's how you know this is a special episode. We're going to be focusing tonight on Android hamburger menus. And if you're new and joining us, I want to thank you for spending your evening. This is the show where every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, I do live coding of Xamarin and Android and iOS mobile development. Hopefully you all sign in and are sharing with me and tweeting at me on whatever. If you're on YouTube, that's probably the best place, and hopefully we can live code together and you can point out my mistakes and you can heckle me. Please do, please chime in. This is supposed to be interactive and fun, and tonight is going to be all about Android. So I don't know if we should go too much further without just writing some code. Before we do that, I'll just say that this is going to be, I'm going to be taking the hamburger menu. First of all, is that sort of left-hand screen that pops out on a lot of apps, much more on Android than on iOS. On iOS, things a little bit more frowned upon. It's not the ideal way of doing things, but people do it that anyway. So it's not going to be too out of the ordinary if you do it on iOS. But we're going to do it on Android Voice first anyway. And that hamburger menu, we're going to steal a lot of code from this wonderful resource on the internets called, wait for it, this is, and I'm going to share this in the show notes, but let's see, I'm starting to get organized now. Navigation drawer example. So, oh yeah, so there's this great Xamarin resource on GitHub called Monodroid Samples, and Monodroid Samples, oh, we'll zoom in, oh, is that better? Okay, yeah. Okay, Monodroid Samples has a gazillion samples in Xamarin on how to do Android things, and so there's a particularly good one in here in the navigation. Let's see, if you were to go into the main site here, you can just get a sense of how many gazillions of examples of different ways to do things there are. And this is just a fantastic resource, and there's a lot about how to get started and whatnot. We are interested in the Monodroid 5? No, Droid 5. There we go. Let's see, in Android 5.0 there should be a navigation drawer. There we go. So the navigation drawer, the hamburger is the sort of, it is a colloquialism, I guess. That's the casual way of describing it. It is a navigation drawer in Android parlance. Look at me using big words. And so I've already downloaded this, but I just kind of wanted to point it out. This is where we're going to be getting a lot of code from, because this represents sort of the best way of doing things. Now, where we left things last, just so we can make sure, not, oh my, oh goodness, here we go. Let's try to clean the solution first. And now I'm going to run this on a JMotion 5x at API 21. Man, look at this. Being used by another process. I see this sometimes. It's annoying, but it is just a fact of Xamarin development that sometimes stuff goes wrong and processes get locked, and the best way to fix it is just to close Visual Studio and reopen it, because multi-threading is hard. Give them a break this time, once, maybe not always. I guess that's okay, right? Occasionally, I don't know. Some people get pretty frustrated about little bugs like this in Xamarin, but from my perspective, I'll give them a buy because of what they allow you to do. hopefully restarting was good enough. So we're going to restart this, and actually, in the meantime, I probably have a version of this open. I could just... this was the ionic calculator from last show. And there should be a mobile calc. No. That was the Xamarin Forms app from episode 9. Episode 9, I think, was a really successful one, by the way. If you get a chance to go back and look at it, that was my comparing of Xamarin Android with, classic Xamarin with Xamarin Forms with Ionic. It was a presentation I did, and I rebroadcast it. I think it went well. Man, this thing's going slowly. Here we go. Clean that thing. Cleaning should be deleting everything in the bin and obj directory, if all goes well. And if you're new to .NET development, the obj directory is a working directory for compiling things and linking things, and then once they have been completed, the sort of working process, the final output is put into the bin directory. And so that's where you're going to find all your DLLs and your, in the case of Android, you're going to find an ADB file in there. The ADB file is the file that gets uploaded into the simulator or eventually a real device. The ADB file is actually, believe it or not, a compressed file. You can take that and rename the ADB file to .zip, and you can just go into it and take a look at the contents of it, which is kind of neat. And since this is taking an exceedingly long time to compile, maybe I'll just show you that, because it is actually a really handy debugging technique sometimes when things go wrong. And here is mobile.android, and like I promised, a bin and an object directory. Inside that bin there'll be a debug and a release, and there should be, oh, I called it ADB, I meant APK. There's that right there. So let's just say we took that out temporarily, put it right here, and renamed it to .zip. Yes, we really do want to change it. You can go inside and you can take a look and see that all of your stuff is still here. There is your manifest file, which contains all of the main all the sort of stuff to get started. It also includes the permissions that you're requesting as part of your app, the API level that you support, and a whole bunch of other things. And oh, is this finally loaded? Whew, I quit stalling for time. Okay, this is where we left things. Not very pretty. I think what we want to do is we want to keep maybe this little bar up here. We want to put a little hamburger menu over here. So you click that and it'll look a lot like the Windows one, where I can go to standard scientific programmer date calculation. And one of the nice things is, as we're building this out in Android, we are going to need to do a list view. This is, well, it doesn't look very list viewy here, but if I make it shorter, oh yeah, there we go. So just in Windows 10, the calculator there, you can see that is a list. And so we're going to need to recreate that list experience in iOS. And so as we're building this out, we will learn how to do lists in Android. Ignore that great big blue thing there. That was a failed thing in episode 8. It just never quite worked, and I had to give up on it at some point. So let's get rid of main activity. First of all, there's a couple problems with it. First of all, it's in the wrong folder. I think it's really objectionable to keep anything in the main root level folder. We should really have a folder called add new folder. How about views? This is a view. This will come in really handy when we start implementing model view model architecture, and we can separate our views from our models from our view models. And view models, I've probably described this in the previous episode, are very similar to, if you're in the JavaScript world, they're similar to controllers. They're like model view controllers. There's important distinctions, but I'm not going to get into that right now. For now, we just want to add a new class. and we'll call this the main layout, main drawer activity. Sounds good, right? And this is going to completely replace the old thing, and we'll selectively migrate things in, because this is going to switch from an activity to a fragment. Everything that we're going to show in the main area, we're going to swap in as fragments. Fragments are they're similar to activities. They're smaller and lightweight. You can show multiple fragments on a page at once, on an activity at once, but you can only show one activity at a time. So fragments are a lightweight alternative to activities, and they're required for a lot of scenarios. In this case, they're going to be required. So you just have to trust me that we're going to migrate in this code as we go, and for now we're just going to kind of almost start over from scratch. And so in the old main activity, we're just going to get rid of the main launcher. It is no longer a main launcher. We're going to eventually get rid of it altogether. But this guy will need a similar attribute tossed into it. It doesn't need to be public. And we can call it the same thing, but we're going to say main launcher is true. So we definitely want this one right here to start up. And then in our override on create, what is that? What is that main thing that you do? On create, that's what I'm looking for. Oh, did you spot the problem? Anyone spot the problem? What's the problem here? Why can't we override on create? Because we're not inheriting anything, right? This should, if we weren't worried about older devices, if we were only supporting newer devices, we wouldn't have to worry about app compat. Described this in a previous episode. We would just inherit from activity. But we want to be able to support older devices for this example, so we're going to support app compat activity. And that is in the v7 support library. Described all that in a previous show, so I'm going to jump right into it. Now we can say override on create. There we go. And now we need to, on create, set content view. That's right. So we're going to call set content view, and we're going to set that to, we need to create a new AXML file, and we'll put that into the layout folder, and we'll call that thing add new item, and that is an Android layout. And how about we call this thing navigation, main drawer. Actually, we could just follow the format in this code sample. So I've downloaded the code sample over here. They called their main project the navigation drawer activity. That's fine. And then in their layout, they called theirs activity underscore. I don't know. That just doesn't look right to me. Activity underscore. You know, I have seen that. I have seen that pattern before. All right, we'll do it. We'll call it the activity navigation drawer. Doesn't matter what we call it, I guess, right? As long as it doesn't have any dashes in it. Yeah, that's a sneaky little trick they throw in. You get underscores but no dashes. And ugh, there's that big old nasty designer. We don't really want to see it. So go away. Go. You know, I promise I like these IDEs, but sometimes they just give you a little more than you want. So we want resource dot layout dot activity navigation drawer, and that will be enough to be able to see pretty much nothing. Let's see it. Let's see nothing. I like hitting F5 and seeing results as much and as quickly as possible, and now's a great time to do it to make sure we didn't mess anything up later. It is taking a little bit longer than I expected. Well, so the next trick is we do need to upgrade our support library a little bit. It was a little bit out of date when we put this thing together, and it's going to cause problems very soon. I'm not going to upgrade to the absolute latest because they just released Oreo? They just released Oreo, right? So I haven't actually downloaded the Oreo libraries yet, so we're going to stick with Nougat for now. Okay, there we go. There's a simple screen. We lost our calculator. Yay, we lost our calculator. Trust me, that's good. I don't know, is that a good commit point? I mean, I feel like every time you hit F5 and it runs and works, it's probably a good commit point. And if you're following along live in real time tonight, then this might be exciting to, let's branch plus feature / navigation drawer. Whoa, did I really change that much? Didn't think that I did. Main activity, yeah, that was the thing we just added. And the activity navigation drawer example, yeah, we added those two. Those are legit changes. And yeah, there in our main activity, we said don't launch anymore. That's cool. Our CS Proj added some things. That sounds right. A resource designer, we really don't want to include that. That's an auto-generated file. We've talked about that on almost every single episode, so I'm not going to go over it again, but it is a good example of Nougat targets. Gosh, that also looks like something that should not be included in source code, but I'm not going to worry about that quite yet. And the project log JSON, we definitely want to ignore that. So add remove, oh, okay. So this is a new activity, sort of like a New Hope. That would be a Star Wars reference. Oh, we don't have the case number. I've gotten in the habit of that. Yeah. While we're at it, let's just delete this resource designer file. Discard? Yeah, discard. Project lock JSON. Discard you too. And oh, I discarded them. What I meant to do, no, that's right. Should have deleted them. Okay, whatever. No, because I deleted them. Yeah. Because I deleted those files, when I recompiled, I expected the resource file to get regenerated, and it didn't. And now I'm wondering if I really messed something up. Let's say we clean this one more time. By the way, here's a little quiz for you. Anyone know the difference between build, rebuild, and clean? While you ponder that, I'm going to figure out what the heck is going on. I think I really messed things up by deleting that project.lock file now. I believe that that is a new file that was introduced just recently with the .NET Standard. And because I've got the latest version of Visual Studio on here, it's generating that file, even though I haven't actually upgraded .NET Standard yet. I think that's right. Man, this show's going a little slower than I'd hoped. Let's start digging into what we have over here. We are going to have this is their sample. We're going to have a bunch of images, And I'm just going to take these images wholesale and import them in. There's that hamburger thing itself. There is there's a little shadow. There's a search icon. Simple stuff. XHDPI. So there's a little keyboard shortcut for you. If you right click on the folder you want and hit X, it automatically opens. So I'm just going to import those images, which we will need very shortly. I don't think we need that, but worry about it later. And if you refresh and you have this all files checkbox checked, you should be able to see new files and just add them in, and it automatically adds them as the correct type of file. And I feel like if I just hit F5 now, it's just going to work. Even though I'm seeing red. Seeing red's not good, right? We're gonna have to see. Just gonna have to see how it goes. Okay, loading. Man, this is taking a long time. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to dig into the file that they used in their sample as their main activity drawer, the navigation drawer activity here. And actually, let's before we do that, let's dig into their layout that they are using over here, and in the activity navigation drawer we'll see that their root element is a drawer layout. Drawer layout comes from the support library, and then inside there they have a frame layout. A frame layout is like a holder, it's like a container, it's where you can stuff bits and pieces into. So we're going to stuff the main view into there every time anyone clicks on any of the items in the navigation drawer. And then the recycler view is what's going to be displayed inside of the navigation, inside of the drawer layout. So drawer layout is kind of a special control whose first element is the main content area, and whose second element is the stuff inside of the pop-out drawer. Right? So then you might be asking yourself, what is a recycler view? It seems like a kind of a strange thing. Recycler view is the new version of a list view. So list view came out a long time ago in Android world, which probably means like 2 years ago, right? Mobile's still relatively new. And then when they came out with, I can't remember, one of the more recent Android versions, they introduced a much fancier one that had the ability to, previously you had to, if you had like a list of 1,000 items, you had to load every single one of those cells, and the performance was miserable. So you had to manually implement your own view recycling, and view recycling is where you only ever actually have sort of 5 or however many a screen's worth of cells active at a time is. And as the user scrolls up, this one, just like you can see, my thumb is going to disappear off the screen. And when my thumb disappears off the screen, then there's a new one that appears down here, and that goes down there, and then we just rehydrate the new contents into the views that are in there. So you only ever instantiate as many views, the minimum number of views that you actually need. So that was something you used to have to do by hand. Android introduced a new control that was like a new fancy list view. I can't remember the name of it, and then in the V7 for older devices, in app compat they released this recycler view, which gives you the same compatibility, the same capabilities, but in older devices. Whew, that was a lot of words. Okay, I hope that made sense. Anyway, it's basically a list view and it's performant. So there you go. There's the short version. So we will put all of this into our, oh yay, we're back to me not having massively broken things. So inside of our activity navigation drawer, we want pretty much the exact same thing. No! Stop the IDE! Stop it. There's probably a way to default to the source view. That would be really, really handy, wouldn't it? You're probably thinking to yourself, why is Lee using Visual Studio? This looks like a terrible IDE. Yeah, I really do think it's nice. Okay, it is complaining. It's complaining right off the bat. It's saying, what is a drawer layout? And in order to support that, we're a little bit out of date with our app compat. And so life will be much better if we go into NuGet, the NuGet packet manager, and we do some updates. Just select all packages except for that one. And we don't want Oreo because I didn't download the latest bits and libraries. But upgrading to 25 will get us the latest everything. It'll get us everything except the recycler view. And I don't know why they did this. I guess it's kind of heavyweight, and so they wanted to separate it out. But the recycler view is its own library, and so you have to bring that in as a separate NuGet package. Or as Miguel de Icaza, the author of Xamarin, says, NuGet. That guy is a turkey. If you ever get the chance to watch him at a conference, do it, because he's really, really funny and extraordinarily smart. Well, the warning didn't go away, but trust me, it's just a little behind. Now, the other thing that it's liable to complain about is the fact we don't have a recycler view. If I were to run it right now, you'd see a runtime error. No, probably a compiler error. And so we can fix that by managing NuGet packages. We are, these update? Yes, they updated. So now we're at 25.402. 25.402, and we need a recycler view. Xamarin Android support v7 recycler view. We don't want 26, we want 25.402. Install. Yes, I agree. This is a lot of work. You will be a little bit surprised at how much work it is to put a left nav on there, but I don't know. That's mobile development. A lot of things are more work than you'd think that they would be for mobile development. It's just how it is. I feel like I've done something wrong. It's complaining, but it's wrong. It's wrong. I'm right. The compiler is wrong. I'm right. That's going to work out real well for me, isn't it? We'll see. And so let's go back to the main drawer activity, and now we've done a couple things, and we can start digging into there. And just do as little code as we possibly can to make this work. And so the first thing we're going to need to do is get that left nav navigation drawer activity. This is the code we're going to be stealing a lot of stuff from. And there is a thing called the drawer layout. I don't know. I'm tempted. What do you guys think? Should I just pull down this whole thing, kind of uncomment code, or pull down the bits and pieces? What's a better learning experience? I don't know. What's a better way to get done in 30 minutes? Maybe that's a better question. Maybe copy and paste all of this? I don't know. Gosh, I just want to support you people in small screens, but I just can't work at that level. There we go. How about that? So yeah, let's pull it all down. Let's go crazy. See how badly it breaks. But I can tell you that the very first thing, you know what? I want R on create. And they use so many bad naming conventions. This is so ugly, but we're going to fix it up later. Set content view. So just pretty much from there on down. Boom. Oof, no. Planet titles. So this example, and I probably should have run it just to give you a sense of what it is a bunch of planets. And as you click on each item on the left-hand side, it shows that planet. So there's 7 of them. You know, however many planets there are. Planet titles. We don't want that. There's one thing we don't want. Set the content view. We're still doing that. We're setting the title. I guess, sure, whatever. We're pulling out the drawer layout, which, as you may recall, is a drawer layout. That's the main thing. The first element of which is the main content for the page. The second element of which is the menu. So we're definitely going to need that, and we're going to need the drawer list. And this is where we get into recycler views and lists and how lists work. So this is huge here. Set drawer shadow. I guess maybe go ahead and do that. I don't care. And set layout manager, whatever. This is important. Set adapter. So each list in Android has a thing which is responsible for getting new elements in the list, and that thing is called an adapter, and that adapter has to inherit from something which ultimately inherits from iAdapter, I think. There's 2 main adapters. There's like a text adapter, and I'm willing to bet their planet adapter inherits from recycler view.adapter. I guess that makes sense. Okay, so that's what you have to inherit from. So we do need an adapter that looks a little bit like that. Let's pull that in and call it. It doesn't really go in views, does it? It goes into, I don't know. This is tricky. I always have difficulty with hierarchy. I'm going to be lazy and just make a quick decision. Put it in views, even though it's not a view, and we'll call this the page adapter. Oh, there we go. Whew, that was taking too long. Public class page adapter inherits from recycler view dot adapter. Yeah, that. And implement missing members. Let's steal a lot of their code. Let's see what they're doing here. They have a view holder. They have an onCreate view holder. Wow. This is pretty solid. We want the onClick method. We want a text view. Yeah, this actually looks pretty good. Let's just take all their code in the interests of time. We can go back in and fiddle with it later. That's the constructor, right? Public. It's not a plan adapter, it's a page adapter. And oh, it needs to be able to figure out what each of the items in there comes from a XAML file, and we could call it a drawer list item. Is fine, I guess. And so we're going to go back into resources, layout. I wonder if I can. Yeah, we'll just do it. We'll do it normal for now, even though this takes like 5 hours. Man, if someone's on live and knows the answer to this, maybe you could look it up and share. I see there's at least one person watching. Tell me how I get the stupid Visual Studio to open up in the code view rather than the designer view. That would be really nice. Okay, in the meantime, this is a drawer list item, and this is going to be really simple, right? Each of those items in the left-hand side is just a string. It's almost overkill to have a whole XAML file just for this. Man, that loaded super fast. Huh. How about that? So if we take a look at theirs, I bet they have something that's just like a list, what's it called? A label. Layout, drawer list item. Oh, it's text view. I knew that, text view. So we're giving it an ID of text1. We're probably going to need to pull that out. Width and height of like fully expand to your space. Text appearance is small. Center vertical. Padding of 16 and 16. Yeah, that sounds good. Text color is white. That might be a problem. Let's do red. Let's do red, just to make sure we see it. The background is the activated background indicator. Let's not mess around with any attributes for now. Let's just call this number. What color are we doing? We're doing a light theme, right? Yeah. So in this case, it's all white. In which case, we can make this black. Boom. And the minimum height is. I bet it's going to complain. Let's let it complain. It'll be an interesting error message to see. So, all right. When you on create view holder, that's when we need to create a brand new one, which does not happen like I said, if you've got like 1,000 items here and you're scrolling through all 1,000 and there's only a screen's worth is like 5, on create view holder should only happen 5 times. So you're going to only instantiate that XAML file 5 times, and then the thing which happens constantly if you've got 1,000 items is on bind view holder. There we go. And on bind view holder, oh, that is a nasty memory leak. You see that right there? That's a memory leak. I'm copying in someone else's memory leak. That bothers me. Let's at least put in a remove Xamarin's crappy memory leak right here. More importantly, though, we are retrieving out the text view that was, remember, that was like all that was in our XAML file right here. We're retrieving out this text here called text1, and we're just setting its text. Whoops, whoa, oh, and we're just setting its text. And as you scroll through your 1,000 items, this method gets called constantly. But it's not expensive because it's not instantiating anything, except for this memory leak, which is a huge, that is a huge no-no. It really is bad, but we'll worry about it later. And what's wrong with it? What's wrong with it, you ask? Problem is we never unsubscribed. If you ever see a subscription and you don't see an unsubscription, memory leak. Boom, it's bad. Okay. And we're in mobile, where resources are limited, so these kinds of things really are important. And we're just returning mdataset. Where did mdataset come from? That was passed in, I believe. It was just a list of strings, and that was when we instantiated this. I think we set it, right? Yes, when you instantiate our page adapter, please give me a list of the pages that we want, and we'll worry about clicking and all that kind of stuff later. Looks like we've got one error. What is that? Oh, too many close. Okay, so you're with me so far. An adapter is what is responsible for handling the swiping and the instantiating of rows and stuff like that. So that page adapter, right? And this is actually going to be a list of, I don't know, this is less than ideal, but for now. We're going to move this into the view model. We want a list of strings, I guess, and we want this to be called things like standard scientific programmer, standard scientific programmer, date calculation. And we're going to eventually want to do a little bit more fancy stuff here, where we do grouping. We're gonna want to do grouping. So these are all the calculator ones. These are like converter ones. These are, that's not very impressive. Grouping, but grouping is a thing you can do with these recycler views. That's real handy. Why is it complaining about can't pass in this? And that's because we're trying to say, and this is the way you do, this is the way Android does callbacks constantly. It's this is what you pass in, and on this, which is the class that you're in this case, this activity, you have to inherit from an additional thing. So you often, and it would probably be done with like an anonymous class if you were in Java, but in C# the way to do this is typically to have, you could do it as a whole separate class if you wanted to, but it's much more common. You'll see people just have a whole list of commas after what you inherit from. So in this case, we need, there's an interface here that we ask for, this on item click listener, which we defined ourselves. It's this interface here, and we copied that over. So we need to implement the on item click listener interface on our main activity. And gosh, why did they not name that with an I? It's so bad. They were probably just, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's got to be I. Come on. Come on, people. Interfaces always start with an I. And these names, oh, they're killing me. I want to resharperize it. No, it should be called just data set. No, I should get it working before I start renaming. But these are all private, so it's a little okay. This should be underscore listener. Yeah, that's correct. I don't know. Okay, good enough. It's a little bit better after we get rid of the unused usings. There we go. Resharp is not complaining so much. Just a couple things. We'll get back to them. Now, I am surprised I didn't automatically copy down the thing called onClick. And if I did, I might have... Oh, I did. The onClick listener for the recycler view in the navigation drawer. I just needed this to be an Android views.view. Just to be... Oh, that's gonna fix the problem about inheriting from the onClick listener. Okay, so now we can handle onClick events, which is going further than I want for right now, but yeah. Well, let's just start commenting. Okay, we want some strings. So I think I mentioned this in a previous episode, but there's a, inside of resources, there's a strings.xml, and those just automatically go into that code generated file. So we'll need a drawer open kind of a thing. We'll call this drawer open, and maybe we'll call it open, and then we need a drawer close, and we'll call that drawer close and close. And why do we do this? We do this because of internationalization. You maybe want to just swap in a new strings XML. When someone downloads this in Chinese, you can swap in the Chinese resource file. Okay, so that's good. Now, why is it complaining about this? Aha, this is yet another probably thing we needed a comma. Inherit from a navigation drawer activity. What is a navigation drawer activity? Navigation drawer activity. This is, no, I don't know. What is a navigation drawer activity? Let's go take a look at their example. Do they have one? But that's us. We are a navigation drawer activity. We're trying to get us. That should be main drawer activity. Uh-oh. Oh boy, here we go. Argument 3 cannot convert from, I had this problem when I did this last time. I remember. We're going to have to go back to that. Resource menu. So the menu is on the, you're going to see this later, but it's the, what's that thing called? The activity, the main thing across the top. There's a special Android thing across the top, and inside of there, there's a like a left-hand side where we're going to put the little hamburger menu, and this automatically has like on the right-hand side like a sub-menu that pops up. So we're going to need to implement that. It looks like I already have one. It's weird. Well, okay, include it, and then we need to include a navigation drawer. Add a new item. .xml, and that navigation drawer, let's just steal that. It's basically just going to pop up a little icon with a search, and we can implement that search if we want to. Menu with a single item in it. Wait, I deleted the XML. There we go. It's the XML. Okay, this has an action in it, and an icon, and a title, and we'll implement that all later. It's just a thing to fill in for right now. Action web search. What is action web search? On prepare options menu. So that's like when you click it. I don't think we need to do anything for right now. Oh, I didn't like that. I don't know. False? No. Just don't do anything for now. We will eventually get our own. Can we, for menu.find item, .set visible? Oh yeah, we don't need to setting things visible or whatever. Let's just get this working. Man, this is getting painful. What is this? This is when we click on one of these things, which is way beyond, well, actually, you know, I think we actually, action web search. Isn't that a thing in there, strings.xml? Let's go look in the layout. Let's go look in the resources folder. Values, strings. No, web search. Oh, I guess that's just like a string for, actually, just that. That'll work? No, let's not worry about it. App not available. Oh, sure, yes, app not available. We'll steal that code string there. Else we're getting real close. We've only got a couple of things. These are not This is when you select an item. Oh, I deleted the mplanet titles. Just throw in anything. Let's just get this thing working. Now what's it complaining about? Oh, it wants a fragment. That is the actual onCreate view. That's the thing that's loading up when you want to load in the main resource area. So we need a resource.layout.fragment underscore page, I guess. And so we will. Listen. We have to return a root view though. Let's just uncreate view. Let's just create a new one for now. New view. Context. Probably this, right? Often this? No. Wait. Oh wait. Actually, I think I saw it in here. Doesn't it? I don't know. We have to just have a. This dot context. Good enough for now. Can instantiate that view and return the view, and that might be good enough just to get us compiling and running for now. I just want to see that left-hand nav. This is not being able to convert from an int to a V7 widget toolbar. And what do you want from me? So the action bar drawer toggle must have changed its API. This is probably an older one that we were copying from. So it wants an activity, that's fair, and a layout, and it wants a toolbar. No, an int open drawer content descript res, and a close drawer content descript res. It doesn't want an image res. So we just get rid of image res. We should be in good shape. Now this is going to complain because we passed in the ick drawer. And I think instead of that, don't quote me on this, mdrawer toggle dot set set. I don't know. We need to be able to. This is good enough. We're actually compiling. This is going to be able to run to do set the Hamburger menu image to. And I think that used to be part of the constructor, and then they moved it. Let's see what happens. Whew. F5. Run this thing. Man, that was a fierce and furious session of coding. I hope you were able to bear with me, and if not, well, I've got 6 minutes. I'll try and explain it all in. Oh, we'll see. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. I think it's going to be good enough for a show if we can just get the left-hand side scrolling up and down. And then maybe for a future show, we'll try and swap in the content and implement the on-click listener. I'll tell you what, I'm not going to call this a show until we've got that left-hand nav actually showing our titles, which it really shouldn't be that hard to do. Now that you understand the basics of the way a recycler view works. It's always a bad sign. It's always a bad sign when set display home up as enabled. I think we want, I don't know why I was using an action bar. We want like an app compat action bar. This dot app support action bar dot set display home up is enabled true. We just should have been using the support one all the time. So I don't know how that ever worked in their code sample, because once you switch to app compat, you have to use like the app compat version of everything. So you can't just sort of mix and match. You are all in on the app compat way of doing things. Oh, look at that. This is another very similar problem. We don't want the action bar, we want the support action bar. 5 minutes in the show, but man, we're close. We are so close. What's gonna happen if I click this button? Oh, it almost worked. You saw it? Did you see it? It worked for a second. Oh, yeah. Action bar. Gotta switch out the action bar to a support action bar. Maybe I should just look for everywhere it references action bar. That's every one of them. That is every one. All right. Moment of truth. Moment of truth. We are now using the app compat version of the action bar. And I think I did a poor job of describing this because I was like half coding and half trying to talk, but the action bar is that sort of special bar at the top of most traditional Android pages that can have things on the right hand side or things on the left hand side. It can expand and collapse depending on the size of the screen, and traditionally, well, we're gonna see it here. There we go. Traditionally it's got 3 little dots here, and if you click on that, ooh, cool. No icon, but we did see the text. That's cool. That was one of the things I think I put in a do for. So that's cool. That's part of the action bar. Oh, nice. Look at that. Oh, that's cool. Can you guys see that animation? Man, I want to zoom in, because that's, no wait, not Control Plus. How do you zoom in? Is it Control Plus? No. Is it making the edges bigger? All right, well, anyway, there we go. We've got ourselves a pretty good menu bar for now. There is more work to be done in the next episode in terms of implementing the navigation and maybe cleaning this up. There's a lot of cleanup that needs to be done, and so I'll probably do the cleanup and describing more of the code that was thrown in there during this hour in the next episode. So I hope you will wait for it. Wow, there we go. I hope you will stay tuned with me for the next installment of this Xamarin Code Hour, where we clean up that code, do some more explanation of what we did, and implement the on-click so that you go into the right places and we actually have multiple calculator pages. And so we'll learn about intents. An intent is how you say that you would like to perform an action like a navigation. And then we'll learn more about fragments. Fragments will be in the next episode. That will be fun because fragments are cool and they allow you to support tablets as well as phones. That's one of the main things that they're giving you. and well, no, we'll see where things go, like always. So thank you for staying tuned in. As always, please, if you have the opportunity, hit subscribe on the YouTube channel, because I will get more opportunities. The more people that subscribe, eventually I'll be able to change the channel name, and that would be really, really nice. Plus, you know, you can see when I go live and do new screencasts like this. So if you have any comments, please sign in, and otherwise, and sign into YouTube and put in the show notes. Otherwise, thank you for hanging in there with me, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, Xamarin Code Hour, and have a wonderful week. And now I've got to find the off button, which might be there. Oh, wait, okay. Oh, wait, hang on. There. Okay.